This point of the program is the point where I say, now's the time. Now is the time. I've shared with you everything. I'm going to, for the rest of the day, give you practical elements. Go through some processes, go through some meditations together, go through some of my personal stories and how I've got to this point, how I live day to day now. And one of the processes, or part of the process, is for you to be able to continuously place your attention on the truth. Everything I've spoken to you in the first part of the first day, we spoke about that which you are not. You are not the drop. After lunch, until this point, we spoke about that which you are. You are the one. And you would have felt something. Although you create confusion, although you create doubt, although you create resistance, there's something you would have felt, otherwise you would not still be sitting here. You would have felt something. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking out the rest of the day, and I'll be talking about how, or let's call it the how, the practical element of this. And what you'll notice is that one of the greatest things that we'll do is we'll continuously refer back to what's the truth. And when I say what's the truth is what you have felt so far in this program. That moment where something felt, yes, I get that. The moment where something, you might not even got something, but it's just a connection. You would have felt connected to something that I said. That's the truth. Okay, there's no words for it. You know, you could say, well, the truth is I am the one, but that's just a word. Does that make sense? So if you're still sitting on the sideline, I invite you to jump in with both feet. And this is not, I'm not asking you to take any actions or any steps. This is something within you. There's a part of you that's sitting here, and this is why it's important to do the program a few times, because there's a part of you that's sitting here, and you know, you're just contemplating everything that's been said. You're feeling everything. That's why you're still sitting here, right? But there's still a contemplation, dipping your toe in, going, oh yeah, I'll go over this side of the pool. Is the pool warm up on this side? Oh yeah, what else has he got to say? Oh yeah, you're dipping in, right? But you won't experience this to the depth until you dive in. So here's the thing about the love process, and I want to move on to this. About the love process. And we are all going to have a go of this together. And I just want to first of all say that this is not a method or a tool, although I will say that it is. It's not. Okay? Every time you do this process, it's going to be different. It's going to be completely different. Every single person will have a different experience. It's just the moment you go and connect and do what some of the suggestions that I'm going to make for you, you're going to notice different things will get resolved, different issues will come up, different joys, experiences. But the thing is, don't try to work out the right way. And when you have this huge, amazing insight or this lightness that you feel, don't think, okay, what did I do there? Because that's what I've got to do. Does that make sense? It's different every single moment. It's different. There is no tools or techniques for truth. Nothing. There's tools, techniques for science, for religion. The truth doesn't have tools and techniques. Okay? Because the moment you label as this is the tool, this is the technique, it's no longer truth. I'll have to come back to you. So here's the thing. I'll even try to make this make logical sense for you. Okay? When you haven't seen someone for a very long time, what do? Go pick them up at the airport. What do you do physically? You hug them. So you are embracing them. Yes? If you're in physical danger, what do? You close off, don't you? Yes? Okay. Same thing energetically. Same thing within your soul. Okay? When you're experiencing love, love's energy is open. Fear's energy, okay, when you're experiencing a disconnection from love, is closed. Okay? Because it goes into protection. It goes to keep you safe, into survival mode. Does that make sense? Okay. Love is the power you have that cures fear. Fear cannot cure love. So when you're trying to fix, improve, or change something because there's something wrong, because you are in judgment of it, you're using fear to fix fear. Does that make sense? You're using the drop to fix the drop rather than the ocean to move the drop. Love is the light. Love is the light. We can make this room completely dark. Turn the light off, just for not all of it, just those ones, the usual ones. We can make this room dark, yes? But there's no amount of darkness, you can turn it back on. There's no amount of darkness that will take any amount of the light off. We can take any part of the light away, We can turn all the lights off. We can put concrete around everywhere and make it completely pitch black. And the darkness is fear. Yes? But no amount of fear will take away any amount of the light. Does that make sense? But the light, which is love, will take away from the darkness. Can you see what I'm saying? So the first thing that I need you to understand is that love is what cures and what resolves, not fear. Okay, so the moment you're in judgment going, I need this to change, you're using fear to change fear. It doesn't work. And if it does work, I promise you, it works temporarily. All you're doing is changing the form of your problem. That's why you're not problem-free. You change one problem into another problem. Then you go and try to work that out. And you're insecure around money, and you change that. You change your insecurity around money. You go and fix, improve, or change your financial circumstances. But then your insecurity goes into your relationship. Then you try to resolve the relationship because you feel insecure about the relationship. And then you fix, improve, or change the relationship. And then it changes. It goes away into your body. And then you become insecure about your body, about your health maybe. Do you understand? It's not going away. The only thing that can cure it is love. And it's through this curing process that you are reclaiming your power from the external and allowing yourself to experience the external and internal as one of the same. Right now you have this internal world and you have this external world. You're experiencing duality. But when you transcend that, the external and the internal become one of the same. In other words, you can see that there's space here, but the physical is also space. So here's the thing. What is your normal human response when you have fear come up? What do? When somebody comes and says something to you, which is a reflection, when you create a circumstance of some sort, so you can experience lack maybe, which is a reflection. It's just a reflection. Has nothing to do with not having money. You're creating the circumstance of not having money to reflect the lack that you feel within yourself. Right? What is your normal response? Your normal response, let me answer it for you, is to go, ooh, I don't like how this person is making me feel. I don't like how this circumstance is making me feel. And then you go and react to fix, improve, or change your financials, or to fix, improve, or change that person, or to fix, improve, or change your circumstances. That's the easiest thing to do. Do you know why that's the easiest thing to do? Because it takes you away from feeling what you're feeling. And you don't want to feel it. If you make yourself preoccupied in blaming someone else, or giving credit, which is what the ego does, if you make yourself preoccupied in fixing, improving, or changing the circumstances or the individual that's causing you to feel that, then it takes you away from actually feeling it. So what do you think is the most difficult thing to do? To feel it. To actually, because what happens? The moment you have something that shows up in your reflection that causes you to feel what you feel, you automatically go into react, right? and you're closed off. And we spoke about that fear cannot cure fear. You're on the same page there, right? So love can cure the fear. So how do you love it? What's the love's energy? Open. So what's going to happen if you actually don't react and sit in the feeling and allow yourself to open up to the feeling? What's going to happen to the feeling? It's going to intensify first, because you closed off to the feeling is protecting you from the feeling. But the moment you go, no, I am going to feel what it feels like to be rejected right now, and feel the rejection, you'll notice that you'll have an opening. Okay? In other words, you're letting light into it. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel it. And as you open up more and more, guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel it more and more. And sometimes it's going to get too intense. You're going to go, but then the story will continue to allow you to open up, open up, open up, open up, open up, open up. Once you're 100% open, 100% open, you're allowing light into the darkness. Does that make sense? Your normal process is to react, is to go into doing mode. Because when you're doing something about it, you're avoiding feeling it. But to transcend the attachment to the positive and the reaction to the negative, you must feel it. It's the opposite. You actually have to sit there and feel it. But we live in a society that will give you medicine so you don't have to feel it. Can you see what I'm saying? And we live in a society that says if you feel the negative things, then you're a failure. So then what do? You push it aside and you hide it. And you don't express it. And what happens to the things that you don't express? It gets depressed and suppressed within you. And then you get depression. And then someone gives you a pill to make the feeling go away. Do you understand what's happening here? Because in society, well, no, you shouldn't be feeling negative. But through that negativity, through embracing that negativity, you're reclaiming your power. You see, this is what it feels like if I was to give you a little analogy or metaphor. It feels like the moment you start to open up to it, it feels like you're at the edge of a cliff and it's all misty. To actually open up to the emotions that are coming up, it feels like you are diving off into the mist. And the mist becomes clouds, and the clouds becomes thunderstorms. And you're falling through it because it keeps intensifying. And you're falling through the thunderstorms. And you're getting struck by lightning, struck by hail, -0 degrees temperatures. And it gets intensity, more intensity, more intensity. Ultimately what happens is you fall through the cloud. And you're still free falling, and there's no more cloud. And you think there's a floor, a ground going to come and meet you, but ultimately what happens, you notice yourself, you're actually not falling anymore, you're flying. That's what it feels like. Some of the things that you're going to be working through, some of the emotions that will come up that you will work through, won't be resolved in one little process. Because this whole process, if I was to give you another little metaphor, is like, remember I said the box, yes? We're living in this box, that's the matrix. You're living in this box, it's complete darkness. And this love process is like a tool, for example, right? And it's like a hand drill, sorry. You know the olden days, they had the hand drills? Now they go, woo! But the olden days, they had the hand drill, okay? Does that show my age? Yeah. See, I'm really 50. So you have this hand drill and you're drilling through and you're drilling through and you're drilling through and you're drilling through because you're allowing yourself to embrace it, to embrace it, to embrace it, to embrace it. And the drill pokes through. And when the drill pokes through, you pull it back down, what happens? Light comes through. And then the next thing comes up in your life. You're drilling through, you're drilling through, you're drilling through. poke through, light comes through. Then the next thing comes in your life. This is what it feels like to be reclaiming power. Every time you reclaim power, more light comes through. Drilling through, and soon enough you've drilled in the whole area, and the whole thing starts to crumble. And the little rays of light become this big light comes through. And this is the process. You continuously reclaim power. The power that you've put in the physical, you continue to reclaim it. But some areas, you've suppressed stuff that's been there for years. And you're drilling through, and it's layers and layers and layers and layers of wood and metal. And you're drilling, and you get nowhere. You've got somewhere, it's gone in, but it hasn't poked through yet. There's no light shining yet. Then you kind of take a rest, you feel light, and then the same issue comes up again. You're drilling through, and that could take some of you 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. Okay? But the whole process is not about fixing, improving, or changing anything because you're in judgment. The whole process is to allow yourself to feel the things that are arising, to feel the emotions. A lot of you have had stuff come up. Who's had some stuff come up this weekend? Okay? This is what you're going to allow. We're going to actually go and do this process on the things that have arisen. Okay? Some of you feeling kind of neutral at the moment. You're like just in a safe space. So you might not be able to process anything right now. Some of you, you'll go afterwards. You'll go home and something will show itself. Okay? This is what I've done. Remember we said opposite of judgment is what? Judgment is the glue that keeps you in the box. What was the opposite of judgment? You guys said it was acceptance. Well, how do you accept? It's an embracing. This is not a thinking thing. It's embracing it. It's a feeling thing. So the emotion that comes up, it's about feeling it. So this is what we call sitting in it. The most difficult thing you do is to sit and let the emotion just be there. Let the emotion just be there. It's very difficult. But that is how you free yourself from it. The other ways that you're doing things is just fixing, improving, and changing it to a different form. You're still imprisoned. You fix, improve, or change things temporarily. So you need to allow yourself to completely feel this. You don't want to miss this part. I'm joking. Here's the point. And she's going to miss this part. Here's the point. The point is this, right? The point is that this path is all about continuing to place your attention on the truth. Continuing to play. And remember, I said placing your attention on the truth looks something like this. Going, I am not the drop. Well, if you're not the drop, who am I? I'm not this body. Well, if I'm not this body, who am I? Okay? But in the moment of a reaction, in the moment of judgment, you cannot place your attention on the truth, and this is why you cannot live this. So you've experienced the truth this weekend. You've experienced a depth of the truth this weekend. Everyone has experienced the perfect amount. Okay? You have experienced a depth of the truth. But when you get out there in your everyday life, and I say, place your attention on the truth when something shows up, guess what? You won't be able to. Why? Because the moment something comes up, it's because you have judgment. And judgment is the glue that keeps the box in place. So when you're in the box, you can't say, what's the truth? What's the truth? All you're seeing is darkness. All you're seeing is parameters, limitations. This is where it starts, this is where it ends. Can you see what I'm saying? You can't place your attention on the truth. You can only place your attention on the truth when you are in acceptance. And how do you get to the point of acceptance? Embracing. Okay? The moment, so that's how you have a great orgasm. Oh, you missed out. Sorry. I'm sure one of the guys will show you later. The reason you're getting to a point of acceptance is to get to a point of non-resistance. When you are in a point of non-resistance, you can then be free to place your attention, what's the truth? Who is that person really? This is what, if you have no charge whatsoever, you're in a point of non-resistance, then you don't have to do what I just said. Okay? You just place your attention on the truth. In my everyday life, the last time I used this process, this love process, was over a year ago. Maybe even over 18 months ago. And it was when I broke up with an engagement. I was a girl that I was engaged with. That was the last time I had to sit there and process something. You will get to a point where you no longer will be processing anything. Okay? But there is times in my everyday life, I'll just place my attention on the truth. Because I'm not deep-rooted in an emotion. If I have an emotion that comes up, okay, and I'll still have emotions coming up, all right? I'll have an emotion come up, and it's only because I'll have a judgment of some sort or resistance of some sort. But the emotions that comes up is this thin compared to the emotions that used to come up, and I would have to sit down and do the process. So when it's only this thin, it's like it's a skin deep. You can just break the skin. Okay? When it's not as powerful, when the emotion is not as powerful, let's say I have an emotion that comes up, I then immediately place my attention on the truth. Somebody comes and does something and plays a little role in my life to have an emotion, bang, right then and there. Instantly, and my team have seen this in me, instantly place my attention on the truth. I mean, it's like, boom, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, gone. Resolved. Instantly. If I'm making a decision, let's say I want to go now and start our office up we're just starting our office up in Los Angeles. Now I want to go open up my office in London. Okay? Let's just go there. Then they say you need this much money. If I go, oh, I don't have that money, where is that money going to come? The moment I notice emotions come up, emotions of lack, right then and there I'll go, what's the truth? I see the truth, it's resolved, then I make the decision anyway. Do you understand? So you apply it in all areas. The whole process of this path is to continuously place your attention on the truth. This is not an affirmation, fake it till you make it kind of thing. That's the stuff that you use for the drop. The drop is using the law of attraction, the law of this, NLP that, NLP this. Those are tools for the law of attraction. The drop. You don't need any tools. There's nothing more you need but to place your attention on the truth. But the reason I'm sharing with you the love process is because I know you can't place your attention on the truth straight away. In some areas you will. Like you walk out, you're kind of neutral, you look at the plant, you go, oh, wow. And you look at your food and go, oh, wow. It becomes alive. And you're feeling that. But wait until something in your life shows up. Wait until that bill shows up. Wait until that court case, the mediation, the family issue, the medical issue. Wait until those things show up. Then, guess what happens? Because you become in resistance, you become in judgment, boom, closed. When the door's closed, you can't see the truth. You try, what's the truth? What's the truth? Fuck the truth, man. I'm going through this shit right now. That's what happens. So then you just sit with it. You open up to it. Let me share with you one story about the very first time I experienced observing someone else experiencing acceptance. My mother for very many years has told me about the importance of accepting. She's like, Amir, you need to accept. But my sister is doing this. You need to accept her. But my brother is doing this. But you need to accept her. I'm like, I can't accept. For many years, it's been a very big thing for me to find acceptance. And of course, it's always our family that comes up to teach us how to find acceptance. Right, guys? Good time you're here. So, one of the greatest experiences I've had of acceptance was watching someone else find acceptance. And there was a time I was dating this girl when I was young, 18. Somewhere around there. And she was a young girl. She just finished high school. Was getting her HSC. I was driving her home one day for her to get her HSC results. And as I'm driving her, she lived in this area, it was like bush kind of area. And her driveway was up here and she had to walk down to her house. And her house was a bit of distance from the driveway. So I kind of wait there. She goes, look, I'll be 2 minutes. All right, cool. All right, I'm waiting. She goes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah, right, 2 minutes, Waiting. 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Women. Turn the car off. Start walking towards the house. To go knock on the back then, I didn't have a phone. Start walking towards the house to go, hey, what's going on? As I'm getting to the house, I hear screaming. And it was her. And I start panicking and running towards the house, screaming back, screaming her name. And all I heard is that there's someone trying to rape me inside the house. So I ran and I'm trying to get into the door, screaming back, and the door was locked, and I ran around the house and I broke the window from the kitchen and ran into the kitchen. And I'm running up, then I just grabbed a knife. I didn't know what to do. So I'm running up the stairs, and there she was. She had her clothes kind of ripped off, and this guy had jumped. He didn't know there was somebody. He jumped 2 levels, two stories into the bush and got away. There was a guy in the house. He had the whole balaclava thing, the sock on his head. He was in the process of robbing the home. And then she came home. He thought she was alone. She was a pretty girl. He thought he would take advantage of her. Told her to take her clothes off. She was freaking out. He started to, and she took her clothes off. And just before, when he was beginning to get on top of her, that's when I was there, and that's when she had the courage to scream, because at first she wasn't screaming. And I wouldn't have heard her if I wasn't walking towards the house. So nothing happened, but there was a traumatic experience that took place there. And, the police were there, the dogs were searching the whole neighborhood looking for this guy that attempted to rape her. And, this became a big traumatic experience for her. She was living in fear from then on. Everything changed. She was afraid being home by herself. She was afraid to walk in the street at dark. And she became very not trusting to other people. So, like I said, my mum's kind of been the wise person in my life, and as a joke, my friends call her the Oracle. So the only thing I knew to do was go, hey, let's go see my mum. And she was like, okay. So I took her to see my mum. And my mum sat her down, and I sat down and going, hoping my mum can help her. And my mum looks into her eyes, she just goes straight into it. She says her name, and she says, you need to accept this. And she starts crying, going, I know I've got to accept it, but how can I accept it? How can I accept somebody that was trying to rape me? And my mum knew that right then and there she had to get her to resolve this, because if she doesn't, that emotion that she holds on to, that will continue as a pattern in her life. Not necessarily someone trying to rape her, but people and circumstances will come in her life for her to keep feeling that thing. Can you see? That's the reflection. So my mum wanted to resolve it right then and there. So she wouldn't let go. She goes, you need to accept it. And she's like, yeah, I know. And she's crying. And she's like, and she's like, but how do I accept this? How do I accept it? And I'm like sitting there going, oh, Mum, I'm watching her and I'm feeling sorry for her. She says, you need to accept it. And she's like, and then she started crying. She's like, but how? How do I accept it? And my mum looks into her eyes and says, you need to love the man that was trying to rape you. And I'm like, Mum, seriously, where are you going with this? I'm freaking out. And she's bawling her eyes out and going, how can you say that? How can you say to love the man that was trying to rape me? And my mum looks at me, because I'm like trying to stop my mum, going, hey, this is enough. My mum goes, you sit down. So I was like, all right, I'll sit down. And then my mum said to her, and really I know it's not what she said, but it's the space that she came from that really freed her in that moment. She says, and this girl that I used to date was very close with her brother. She said, if your brother did this, he broke into another home and got desperate and something overcame him and he raped the girl. And now he's in jail. And now you're visiting your brother in jail. Would you still love your brother? And she went, yes, I would still love my brother. And my mum said, he's your brother too. And I experienced somebody just go, it's almost like right there she got it. And she was kind of a very spiritual, conscious person at that time. I wasn't at that time. She says, he's your brother too. We come from the same family. Who was the guy doing that? Do you see, my mum knows. That's the one. As hard as that will be difficult. You see, your judgments that you have will determine if you accept what I just say right now. She says, he's your brother too. We're from the same family. Do you understand some of the things that you're going to be experiencing in your life is going to be very difficult to accept? But that's to accept the story. It's not necessarily just to accept the story, although she got that and she was able to accept the story which freed her, and she never thought about that again. We never spoke about it, and I dated this girl for years. We never spoke about it again. You know why? Not because she suppressed it and pushed it aside, because the memory became neutralized. Guess what happens to the memory that becomes neutralized? It's gone. What does it mean it's gone? I mean, yeah, you can go and think back and look at it. But what I mean it's gone means the memory is no longer feeding the thoughts of today and of the future. Let's go back to the beginning of the seminar. This past negative emotion is no longer feeding negative emotions of the future. Do you understand? It's not feeding your thoughts. Can you see where your thinking is coming from? People are trying to change your thinking. Can you see where the thinking is coming from? It's coming from those memories that are positively or negatively charged. If you can neutralize the charge, and you can only neutralize it with acceptance. So in that scenario, she accepted the story. But there will be a lot of times that you won't be able to accept the story. Okay? And it's not really about the story anyway. It's about how the story causes you to feel. So it is required for you to go and embrace the feeling. So that's what it means by accepting. Does that make sense? So this love process, which will allow you to neutralize the emotions to be in a point of non-resistance, so then you can place your attention on the truth. That's what this whole process is to continuously place your attention on the truth. And the only other things that I do besides that is what I call pondering, which I'll cover that in a moment. Okay? So here's the love process. If I was to put it into a step-by-step thing, this is what it would look like, but there really isn't any step-by-step process, right? What I wanted to make sure that you understand is that the acceptance or the love process does not mean being passive. Okay, it's like if you're getting beaten up by your husband, you don't go, well, okay, I need to accept this, but hit me, you know. That's not what it means. Okay, it means to, if you're in a circumstances where you need to react, you know, take action and move away, but then you need to sit down with the feelings of how it felt when you had someone beat you up, for example. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you'll continuously create circumstances or people to beat you up physically or emotionally. Does that make sense? It means it's being completely open. It means to feel the emotion fully. Number one is that's what you do. You feel the emotion fully. Number two, you do not, as soon as you feel the emotion fully, what's going to happen? You're going to experience resistance and you're going to close off. Don't close off. Continue to open up. You're going to get to a point where you will feel one with that emotion. It's almost going to be a point where you'll feel one with the emotion and you'll actually forget about why you're even feeling that. Because you become disconnected from the story that was causing you to feel that emotion. At that point, you'll forget why you're even feeling that. You become one with that emotion. And you know when you're one with that emotion and there's no judgment, there's no resistance, do you know that experience of fear, that experience of that resistance that you're experiencing that you've labeled as bad, do you know that becomes love? You know how? The one manifested itself into billions of parts. Every emotion you're experiencing, if you go deep enough into it, it falls into love. There is no other emotions. All the other emotions are different color of the same thing. Fear is a different color of love. If you go deep, 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 deep enough into it, to the point where you become one with the emotion, where you have no association to the story of why you're feeling that. At that moment, we have no judgment. At that moment where you just become one with the emotion, you notice that it's just a different color of the same thing. Just like a rainbow. It's a different color of the one rainbow. You'll realize that. As you dive deeper and deeper into an emotion, you realize, to the point where you become one with the emotion, where you forget about why you're feeling what you're feeling, you realize it's actually love. It's love. Fear, go deep enough into it, is love. Everything you feel comes from the one place. There can't be the one and then fear. Everything has come from love. Love is all there is. And number 3 is you place your attention on the truth. What's the truth? The things that I used to say to myself, or I still do, I am not this. Or I'll immediately go to, I am this. At the beginning, I would have to say, I am not this. In other words, you're saying, I am not the drop. I am not this body. The moment I say I'm not this body, everything associated with this body dissipates. The moment you're experiencing lack, okay, you go, I am not this lack. It's impossible for you to be experiencing. How can an infinite being be experiencing lack? So you must be so amazing to manifest the experience of lack. In fact, you get to a point of having appreciation for experiencing lack. That's what happens. You'll be like, oh my God, look, you have this huge amount of appreciation to the fact that you've created to experience lack. Like, because you're an infinite being. That's what starts to begin to happen. You start to appreciate every experience that you're having. Just like the sunrise. It becomes like that. Or I would say, I am infinite energy. I am love. I am one. Whatever. But these are just my words. You've got to say whatever feels true for you. What is the truth? If I asked you what the truth is right now, what would you say after experiencing this weekend? You could use my words, but what is it for you? What means something to you? Who are you truly? After experiencing this weekend, who are you really? That's the word you use. Words are just empty until you give them meaning. Any questions about that?